Eddie Reese has become a good friend. I always have admired the job he's done. When I was a swimmer at the University of Kentucky, Eddie was a graduate assistant at the University of Florida, and I watched him because it was obvious that he had a lot to do with their success. He went to a high school that I know nothing about, and I'm sure he did a great job. Went to Auburn and turned that program around and made it a national presence. And then he went to the University of Texas, I believe it was in 1978, and he's been there ever since. I think anybody can be known as a great coach if you coach a great swimmer. But a truly great coach is somebody that produces year after year after year. We all know the great swimmers that Eddie's coached: Brendan Hansen, Neil Walker, Aaron Pearsall, Ian Crocker, Garrett Webergale. Is Garrett here tonight? Garrett, shame on you. We also know that Eddie's won 11 national championships, NCAA championships. It takes a lot to do that, but year after year, Eddie creates great teams. And I think he shared with us a little bit this morning, if you listen to him speak, about how he does that, and that's giving his heart and soul to develop great people. And regardless of whether his team wins or not, he develops great people. I want to share a little bit of my experiences with Eddie when I was at the University of Texas coaching the women's team. First of all, when I was flying to Austin to start the job, I got on an airplane and Eddie Reese was seated next to me. He had gotten on that airplane to talk to me about the University of Texas. It was really awesome. You can't imagine how that made me feel to have the great Eddie Reese sitting next to me talking to me about the University of Texas as I was flying there to take the job. The second thing that I always remember about Eddie was, and this was the only nasty thing I've ever heard him say, when I walked into my first practice at Texas, I didn't have a Texas shirt. So I thought I'd be really cool and wear a national team shirt, which was red. Now, if you know anything about the University of Texas and Stanford University, you know how Texas feels about Stanford. And Eddie looked at me as I walked in the pool. I hadn't even gotten to the pool deck yet. And he said, "Mark, you will learn to hate that color." And I did. The last thing, and this is probably the strongest thing that I always remember, one of our NCAA championships with our women's team, and you got to recognize that Eddie is preparing his men's team for the men's NCAAs, and they're favored to win. The women's meet was at Indianapolis, and the first day, I look up in the stands, and I see Eddie Reese come to the women's meet for the first day for the prelims to support the women's team. You can't imagine what that meant to those girls, to feel like Eddie cared about them. And that's the way Eddie is. I'm so proud to be able to introduce Eddie Reese for this honor that he truly deserves. So I hear you don't wear any of those 11 championship rings, but we expect you to wear this one, Coach.
It does fit, doesn't it? Well, thanks, Mark. Actually, when I went to that championship, the women were down by 90 points the first day. And I went up to Mark and I said, "You guys are going to win." And he said, "We're down a lot." And all their girls had swum their third best events. Second day they were even. The last day they won by 90. I think that may be the only time I've ever been right about that stuff. But I definitely want to talk about it. Congratulations to Frankie and Dick. I've known them for longer than I can remember. And that, with any luck, that's going to get to be a problem. But being in this sport, Randy talked a little bit about it, how you don't really, it's not a job. It's a lifestyle. And I go to Masters Nationals when I can, whether I can swim or not. Prefer not to swim. Really don't like to hurt that much anymore. But I go there and I get a heat sheet, stand behind the blocks, because everybody's changed. And just recognize the name and talk to them. My wife went with me a couple times. She said, I've got you figured out. This is a lifetime reunion for me, and it is, because I've done it a long time. A lot of water is passed into the gutters of the pool. I'd like to introduce my wife, Eleanor. Eleanor fits into the category that I tell all male swimmers that they do. They marry 2 to 4 levels above what they deserve. All my swimmers do that. I definitely did that. When I was at Auburn and Tim Shaw and Brian Goodell were graduating a year or 2 apart, my wife said, well, are you recruiting them? I said, they won't come to Auburn. She just said, they can just tell you no. Well, they didn't come. But I wrote a letter and give me a lot of direction. I said earlier tonight that I've just now started winning arguments with her, because we've argued about everything else in the world. Now we're arguing about swimming, and I'm only winning about half the arguments. So I'm actually feeling good about that. I love the sport. It is a way of life. I love to go to Masters Nationals. The best people in the world are swimmers and were swimmers, year in, year out. It astounds me, even though I know that's going to happen. So I appreciate everybody being here, regardless of who you're here for, because I know what an impact coaches can have on athletes' lives, particularly if they do it the right way. I'm a book reader, but I read fiction books. I'm an escapist. And about 40 years ago, I read a book, and it gave me a direction in my life and how to treat people. And the quote was, we all know the saying, you can't take it with you. And the quote had to do with, the only thing you can take with you is that which you've given others. And I just thought, that's the best thing I've ever heard. And so I discovered the secret to life and the happiness involved in life a long time ago. And we're just here to help. And that's what we want to do. You listen to their stories, or Mark's stories, or Randy's stories. All they've done is help. It's the name of the game. I am really honored to receive this, especially with Frankie and Dick. truly one of the greatest honors I've received. Thank you very much.